I'm with Liberty Prairie Conservancy, and today I'm here at the home of Glenn Green in Lindenhurst. Glenn is going to show us some really neat things that he's been doing on his property.
Welcome to our yard. First, I should point out that our front yard is pretty conventional. We decided that we didn't want to go against the wishes of our existing society. We want to make it look the way they expect it to look, so that's the way the front yard is. When we moved here 20 years ago, we hired a landscaper to come and do our yard because nothing had been done at the time, and he planted lots of things that he shouldn't have. He put in a row of 12 Japanese honeysuckle, which we found out later shouldn't be here, so I took all of those out and replaced them with native plants. I became a volunteer for the Forest Preserve, and of course we spent much of our time cutting buckthorn and Japanese honeysuckle out of the Forest Preserve, so I recognized right away that there was something wrong here, so I changed that. Then we have a rain garden or water garden here. This was a place in our yard that was wet for several days after every rain, and so we decided that we might as well plant wetland plants here, and so that's what we've done. I took off the sod and a couple of inches of soil and planted those plants that do well in wetland. These raspberries were actually transported from my parents' farm 50 years ago. Very soothing to sit and watch the fish play, and there are about 9 or 10 frogs in there, so it's just kind of fun to have.
That's nice, and I like the stone surface that you've got here too.
In fact, we're going to expand the stones because we're trying to get rid of grass, and this is a good way to do it. It's easy. Stone's easy to take care of, and it's easy.
So why are you trying to get rid of grass? I have ideas about that, but why don't you share yours too?
Well, because in order to have a really good lawn, it has to be watered and fertilized, and I'm not willing to water or fertilize my lawn.
How come?
Because I think it's environmentally unsound. This bluegrass shouldn't be here in the first place, and if I insist on having something green, I should find a better ground cover. What I'd like to do
Good answer.
is I'd like to have the entire yard covered with wild ginger. I think it's such a beautiful
wouldn't that be
plant.
pretty?
I wanted to have as many different kinds of native plants in my yard as I could find, and I wanted to find out which ones would thrive and which ones wouldn't. So I'm just trying it.
Nine bark is so wonderful for wildlife,
Oh, boy,
I know.
is it?
And as is the buttonbush.
Another thing that we have here that I wish I had more of is rain barrels. I'm really seriously considering having someone bury a cistern in the ground here for us. I don't know how expensive that will be, but I imagine it will be a lot more expensive than the dollar value I'll get out of having it. But I just think that we ought to be saving this water.
We just had heavy rains last night and today. Did you fill up?
Oh yes.
Yeah, and so you overflowed. You could have.
It only takes about 1/4 of an inch of rain to fill these 2 barrels.
No kidding.
Yeah. I always wash my tools after I've used them, so I wash my tools here, and then whenever we need to irrigate something by hand, then we get our water from these barrels here for it. I've had a compost bin for at least 40 years. What we do is throw everything in here, and then in the spring I harvest.
So what all are you throwing in there?
All of our vegetable table scraps go in there, and lawn clippings and leaves that we rake up in the fall. The other thing that's in this corner is our vegetable garden. It's a pretty modest vegetable garden. I just raise a few beans and peas and beets. The problem with having the vegetable garden here is that we get lots of deer in our yard. So I had to put electric fence around it. We've done some bad things here. The Forest Preserve is full of buckthorn and garlic mustard and multiflora rose and that sort of thing. And those are things that people brought here, and they are causing harm to our environment. So I wanted to do a small part to correct that change. So I'm trying to replace the non-native things in my yard with native plants. It just makes me feel good to know that I'm making a small contribution to bettering our part of the world in terms of what kind of plants and animals we invite into our yard.